we must talk more about psychology, because the only consistent threat in human history is man himself. Have you ever considered that the enemy you've been fighting your entire life might not be external, but is instead the general commanding your own inner army? That the thoughts you pride yourself on, the beliefs you hold as truth, might not be your decisions at all, but orders issued by an it you've never even met. What if I told you that beneath the throne of your consciousness, there's a silent, ancient, profound it that has been manipulating your chess game since the day you were born? Don't misunderstand. This isn't some metaphysical theory. This is psychology. And to unlock this mystery, there's one name you must know: Carl Gustav Jung. Are you sick of falling down in the same place over and over? Are you tired of sabotaging the relationships you cherish? Do you ever feel that just as you're about to succeed, a force always drags you back into the abyss? That could be your shadow, an ancient archetype, or the collective unconscious roaring in your ear. To ignore all this is as foolish as declaring your belief in peace while standing in a spiritual minefield. You will get hurt. You will repeat your fate. You will blame it all on bad luck. Carl Jung was no psychotherapist. He was a strategic map of the soul. He charted the forbidden zones of the psyche where no one else dared to go, and his discoveries will completely subvert your understanding of self. This content is not a biography, nor a dry summary. It is a mirror that cannot be deceived, and I will use it to show you what you've been avoiding for years. But remember, once you see it, you can never go back. You will see the monsters lurking within you and realize, for the first time, that the greatest enemy of your life has always been within. The good news, however, is that this enemy can also become your strongest ally, provided you have the courage to face it. So steady your mind and prepare for the only explanation about Jung you truly need to hear. After this, the way you see yourself will be changed forever. Carl Jung, this explorer born in Switzerland in 1875, had ambitions far beyond merely healing symptoms. What he truly wanted was to repair the severed connection between human beings and their souls. His teacher, the great Sigmund Freud, believed that everything human stemmed from repressed sexual desire, as if he were excavating the garbage dump of the individual psyche. But Jung saw a vaster landscape. He saw not the personal past, but millennia of collective human memory, a cosmos of myths, symbols, and archetypes. For that reason, their rupture was inevitable. Jung believed that suffering was not a programming error to be eliminated, but the soul's call for you to transform. The analytical psychology he founded is not about helping you delete the bad parts. It's about making you understand, integrate, and embrace the parts of yourself you have rejected, hidden, and denied. Because the real enemy isn't pain, it's your own unconsciousness. Why does all this still matter today? Because our society is even sicker. We are trapped in meaningless repetition, numbing our emptiness with consumption and escaping our pain with entertainment. Jung not only foresaw all this, he offered a path inward, a way to survive. He cannot give you a cheap palliative, but he can give you something no one else can: the truth about yourself. And one of the most staggering truths is this: your mind is not an isolated island. It is submerged in a vast invisible ocean of consciousness shared by all of humanity. Next, we will dive into this mysterious realm that Jung called the collective unconscious. You will discover that far more people are living inside your body than you ever imagined. Most people think their ideas, fears, and feelings are unique, the product of personal experience and upbringing. But Carl Jung's research completely shattered this illusion. He revealed that beneath your personal consciousness lies a deeper, older, and more powerful layer that does not belong to you, yet it rules you. This is the collective unconscious. Imagine your mind as a book containing your personal story. But this book is soaking in a vast ancient library, and the ink from every other book is quietly seeping into your pages. The myths, heroes, dragons, and redemptions that are strikingly similar across millennia and different civilizations are not coincidences. They are not cultural inventions. They are the echoing blueprints of the human soul's structure itself. When you feel the fear of abandonment, you are touching an ancient archetype. When you long for belonging, seek meaning, and strive to overcome yourself, you are being driven by ancient forces that have existed since the dawn of humanity. To ignore the collective unconscious is like ignoring gravity. You can pretend it doesn't exist, but it will still pull you, tear at you, and manifest in your relationships, your choices, and the cycles you cannot escape until you admit you are not fighting your own demons, but the ghosts of all humanity. So who exactly lives in this ocean? These formless powers were named archetypes by Jung, and among all archetypes, there is one that is most feared and denied by us, and therefore the most dangerous. As long as you refuse to look at it, it will control your life forever. Next, we will talk about the shadow, the version of you that you desperately try to hide, the it that is always watching you in the dark. If you feel this content is starting to make you uncomfortable, that's good. Click subscribe, because the real journey has just begun. Thank you for your support. Have you ever done something you deeply regretted, yet couldn't explain your motive for? Have you ever exploded at someone with destructive rage, only to say later, "That wasn't me"? Have you ever felt envy, greed, arrogance, or cruelty, but chose to wrap them in a moral cloak instead of admitting their existence? Then you have already met your shadow. You just didn't dare to look it in the eye. Carl Jung firmly believed that every human being drags a dark shadow. This rejected, repressed, and denied part is made up of all the trash you refuse to acknowledge: shameful impulses, despicable desires, deep-seated insecurities, and unbearable vanity. All of this lives within you, and the more you deny it, the stronger it becomes. The shadow doesn't disappear. It just disguises itself. It hides in your harsh judgments of others, in your explosive anger, in the shame that paralyzes you, and in that inner voice that constantly whispers, "You are not good enough." The more you act like a good person, the more dangerous your shadow becomes, because it will project all its darkness onto the world. Then, the evil you see is always in others, never in yourself. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In other words, as long as you keep pretending the shadow doesn't exist, you will be its slave. You will repeat patterns of failure, choose people who hurt you, and destroy your own opportunities because, deep down, a part of you that you've abandoned is making you believe that you deserve nothing good. But we confront the darkness not to destroy it, but to integrate it. Because the shadow holds not just destruction, but also raw, untamed life force. If harnessed, this power can completely reshape you. But this requires you to step into dangerous territory, to embrace the parts of yourself that you have banished, forgotten, and suppressed. True self-knowledge begins with this confrontation. Jung called this process individuation, a difficult, long, but irreplaceable path for any soul that yearns for freedom. Next, we will explore how this process works and why it is the only way to make you whole. Because as long as you live in fragments, you will live forever at war. Most people spend their entire lives just trying to please others and meet society's expectations. They distort, suppress, and numb themselves, all to gain a false sense of security. But deep down, the emptiness, the discomfort, that feeling that something is wrong, never goes away. Carl Jung knew what that was: the absence of individuation. Individuation is not some cheap self-help course, nor is it about manifesting abundance. It is a process so brutal, intense, and profound that it will cause you to be reborn. It is the head-on collision with your own shadow, the integration of your inner opposites, and the reconnection with your soul. It means you must let the you thought you were die completely, so that the real you can break through the soil. Individuation is the collapse of the ego, the shattering of illusions. It demands that you face the parts of yourself you've denied for decades. It makes you admit that you are neither as good as you thought, nor as bad as you feared. You are the paradoxical union of light and dark, resilience and fragility, the sacred and the profane. And here is the harsh truth no one tells you. This process is excruciatingly painful, because it forces you to give up the lies you've relied on to survive, forces you to stop blaming others, and forces you to take full responsibility for your life. It is not a one-time event. It manifests in every crisis, loss, and rupture in your life. Jung said that the encounter with the self is, by its very nature, a defeat for the ego. He was right. Most people prefer the comfort of ignorance. But those who have the courage to face the darkness will win a priceless prize, freedom. Because only when you integrate everything you've rejected, do you finally become who you were always meant to be. And your soul has been speaking all along. It doesn't use words. It uses symbols, images, and stories. It speaks through your dreams. If you learn to listen, you will unlock secrets that reason could never touch. In the next part, we will enter this mysterious territory, explore what Jung called the symbolic language of the psyche. And you will understand why your dreams may be the key to your transformation. While the entire modern world dismisses dreams as random brain noise, Carl Jung went in the opposite direction. For him, dreams are urgent telegrams from the soul's headquarters. They never waste words. Every night when you sleep, a part of you awakens and begins to speak. The problem is, you've never learned its language. Jung saw dreams as the unconscious mind's intervention to restore your psychic balance. When your conscious, daytime self strays too far from its path, the unconscious sends images, scenes, and archetypes to pull you back to center at any cost. So dreams are not simple daily recaps. They are navigation, warnings, and invitations. Think about it. Why do you dream of falling when you are losing control in real life? Why do you dream of your teeth falling out when you feel powerless? Why does the same symbol, a snake, a house, a mirror, a forest appear repeatedly in your dreams? This is not coincidence. This is the soul trying to communicate with you. But the soul does not speak human language. It speaks the language of symbols. A house might represent your current state of self. A snake could herald transformation and rebirth. A ladder might point to spiritual ascent or descent. And a mirror might reflect the very shadow you refuse to see. Understanding this language is like deciphering an ancient code, the code of your soul. Jung believed that the more we ignore the symbols in our dreams, the further we drift from our true selves. And when we stray from the soul's center, we become lost, anxious, and depressed. Dreams are that inner compass, and to ignore them is to run blindfolded through a maze. Do you want to know why you attract the same painful patterns? Do you want to know why you feel stuck? Look at your dreams. Write them down. Confront your symbols. There lie the answers your conscious mind can never give you. But dreams are just a medium. The real speakers are much deeper, older, and more powerful forces. The archetypes. They are the invisible characters living within you, the true directors of your life script. Next, we will reveal who these archetypes are and how they shape your destiny, even when you think you are in control. Have you ever found yourself acting in a way that felt not like you? Do you feel like you are always repeating a script whose origin you don't even know? Always attracting the same type of person, experiencing the same kind of pain? Carl Jung knew why. Because living within you are formless powers, psychic characters, that not only influence your decisions, but direct your entire life. These powers are called archetypes. They are the universal structures of the psyche, ancient patterns born with you, residing in the collective unconscious. They are like inner programs that shape your behaviors, emotions, and life stories. The most unsettling part is that you can spend your entire life being manipulated by an archetype without ever knowing it. Jung identified many archetypes. The hero archetype drives you to overcome challenges and save others, even at your own expense. The sage archetype makes you obsessed with seeking truth and knowledge. The shadow archetype represents all your repressed darkness. The anima and animus represent the feminine energy in men and the masculine energy in women, which long to be integrated to make us whole. These archetypes are not abstract concepts, they have energy. When an archetype is activated, it possesses you. It seizes the steering wheel of your consciousness and drives your life with abandon. This is why you get stuck in relationship dynamics that feel like they were written in advance. The person who constantly saves their partners but destroys themselves is enslaved by the hero archetype. The one who desperately seeks approval and fears rejection may be trapped in the wounded child archetype. And the one who always seems drawn to chaos and destruction is living under the tyranny of the unintegrated shadow. Here is the point. These archetypes are not your enemies. When unconscious, they are tyrants. When identified and integrated, they become your greatest powers. When you begin to understand the different voices within, you finally start to reclaim authorship of your own life story. It is at this point that Jung's ideas become unprecedentedly urgent. Because today, more than ever, we are being inundated by external noise, distractions, and pressures that tear us away from our inner essence. We live in a world that constantly pushes us outward, causing a complete disconnection from what exists within. The consequence is a collapse of meaning and a spiritual crisis disguised as stress, depression, and anxiety. Next, we will explore why Jung's ideas are the only antidote to the psychological chaos of modern life. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It deeply analyzes Jung's core concepts and provides you with tools to understand yourself more profoundly. The link is in the pinned comment. We live in the age of information, yet we have never been so lost. We can connect with anything at any time, yet we are more lonely, fragmented, and exhausted than ever. Modern society promised us freedom, but delivered only anxiety. It promised connection, but drowned us in endless, empty comparisons. Beneath this noise, a suppressed question screams within millions of people. Who am I really? It is at this moment that the work of Carl Jung becomes more vital and necessary than ever. Jung didn't sell quick fixes or cheap philosophies of happiness. He offered something infinitely more powerful, a path back to your soul's homeland. A path to reintegrate everything that has been forgotten, suppressed, and distorted by a society obsessed with productivity, appearance, and performance. He foresaw that modern man would be consumed by the persona, the mask we wear for social acceptance. He knew that when we deny our shadow, we become slaves to the very forces we pretend not to have. That when we mock our dreams, symbols, and archetypes, we lose the map to our own existence. Jung wrote about this decades ago, yet it reads as if he were describing today perfectly. People feel empty despite having everything. Relationships are increasingly superficial, fragile, and disposable. Young people are exploding with existential crises, anxiety, and depression. The modern world sold us the illusion that we can live solely on the surface. But the soul cannot be ignored for long. And when it screams, it doesn't ask for likes. It demands meaning, depth, and integration. Jung was not a therapist for times of peace. He was a guide for times of collapse like now. Because when everything external status, success, control loses its meaning, your only way out is in. And this inward journey is terrifying because you will find not only light, but also monsters, traumas, and painful truths. But you will also find something no one can give you, your true self. You cannot heal with a few slogans or shortcuts. But if you have the courage to face yourself, to tear down the illusions, and to dive into what Jung called inner transformation, then yes, there is hope. This video exists to remind you that the path has always been there. Your pain is not meaningless. You are not broken, you are just shattered, and you can piece yourself back together. But what does this mean in practice? How do you move from theory to real transformation? In this final part, we will conclude this deep dive with a raw and necessary truth and show you why this video might be the turning point your soul has been waiting for. You have spent half your life trying to fit in, to protect yourself, to belong. You pretended to be strong when you were in pieces. You smiled when your soul was screaming for help. And somewhere along the way, you completely forgot who you were. You forgot your essence, your mystery, your creative chaos, your soul. But now, something inside you has begun to awaken. Your presence here is no accident. Jung believed there are no coincidences, that even the most random encounters are the unconscious trying to reveal something to you. Perhaps this video is just such an encounter. A signal calling you to stop running, an alarm ordering you to stop lying to yourself, a summons urging you to abandon the surface and dive into the abyss of your own psyche. What Jung teaches us is not pleasant to hear, because it requires courage, pain, and responsibility. But it is also incredibly liberating, because the moment you understand that you are not hopeless, but merely unconscious, you reclaim your power, the power to transform, to integrate, to heal. You don't need to understand all the theories right now, nor decipher all your dreams. You just need to take the first step, and that step is honesty. Say to yourself, enough, I am done living on autopilot. I am done denying my pain. I am done being a prisoner of the superficial version of myself. From this moment on, everything changes because now you know, and what has been seen can no longer be unseen. Now I want to invite you. If this video has touched a sleeping part of you, comment below. Tell me, which idea shocked you the most? Which truth hit you the hardest? Which part of your shadow do you know you need to look at, but are still avoiding? Because merely putting this into words is to bring a sliver of light into the unconscious. And that is the beginning of liberation. If you found this video powerful, the next one is just as important, perhaps even more so. Because the journey inward does not end here. And a soul, once awakened, can never go back to sleep. So click on the next video and continue this dive. Because you are standing at the beginning of what could be the greatest transformation of your life. I'll see you on the next leg of the journey.